فأكفروك أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم وأهل آله وصحبه أجمعين سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Praise belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We praise Him, we seek His assistance, we seek His guidance, we seek His forgiveness. I believe in Allah and do not disbelieve in Allah. I witness openly there is no God except Allah. He is one, He is alone, He is free of associations and partners, and I witness that Muhammad ibn Abdullah is His slave servant and messenger. The prayers and peace be upon the noble Prophet, upon his family and companions be peace. Glory to you, my Lord. My Lord is exalted, high, and above what they ascribe to Him. And the prayers be upon the messenger sent, and praise be to Allah, Lord of all the worlds. Dear brothers, we'd like to thank you all for answering the call, our invitation, our dawah, to be with us today for our third quarterly seminar. Today's topic is the effects of television or the media on one's faith. Our guest presenter is a renowned and highly sought speaker, Imam Faheem Shuaibe. Imam Faheem Shuaibe is the resident Imam of Masjid Warthuddin and director of the Clara Muhammad School in Oakland, California. This brother is a very insightful author and lecturer and has given many lectures and seminars and workshops to hundreds of audiences for over 16 years nationwide on the topic of Al-Islam, world politics, and human relations and social evolution. He is listed in the International's Who's Who among intellectuals and is the national Who's Who on public speaking professionals. As a top aide and supporter to Imam Warthuddin Muhammad, Imam Shuaibe has been a part of several distinguished delegations that have taken him around the world on various educational, religious, and interfaith peace missions. We are thankful here at Masjid Nur al-Zaman to have with us this distinguished and honorable Imam. He's been with us before, and we take this time to give him a great thanks for coming and spending his time with us today on this very important topic of the media and the effects on one's faith. But before we bring on the Imam, we'd like to have a few words from our resident Imam, Imam Nasir, inshallah. So we'll bring on the Imam. Allahu Akbar.
Assalamu alaikum. We greet you brothers in peace, as is our custom, in the words of the Quran, in the Arabic language, which means peace be unto you. Assalamu alaikum. Again, we're very, very happy and pleased, as always, to have you in our presence. We hope that this happens on more occasions, you know. We're here all the time, and it shouldn't take every 3 months for us to get together like this. So we're hoping to see you more often than these sessions, but we're very happy that you've taken time out of the schedule to come here to be with us, perhaps to hear something that might be benefit all of us in the situation that we're living in, as well as the situation we hope to live in a short period of time, God willing. So my comments are few, but I would like to introduce a couple of our other brothers who came to accompany the Imam, Brother Tawheed Sabri, there and there, and one of my sons, Yusuf Nasir, he's been here before, and Imam Suleiman Hamid, he's in the back. 3 young brothers who took their time out to come to be with you, just to rub shoulders with you today for a few hours. We're always pleased to have them with us. You know, sometimes if you start reading these newspapers that we get up here, you think that everybody in Oakland, especially the youngsters, is just shooting and killing, you know, but it ain't like that. We get the wrong impression from reading the newspapers, looking at the news. We get the impression that they're trying to give us of ourselves. When we read about Oakland, and Sacramento, and Richmond, and all these places that we generally come from, that our youngsters are all, they can't be reached. They can be reached, and actually the majority of them are in a form that we can work with. And it was only very few that are in a form that we can't work with right now. And we're hoping to reach them too, but sometimes they have to come here before we can reach them. Just like some of you had to come here before we could reach you. Those of you who are Muslims and others who are listening now that we're in this kind of situation. So we're pleased that those brothers took the time out to come with us. We want to give you an opportunity to rub shoulders with them. And we're very, very happy always to have our Imam here. There's more that could be said about him that was read from his bio there, believe me. Some of you, in fact, are from Oakland, and you may know he's spent many, many years in this work. He's not a newcomer to this work. He started his work in the time of Elijah Muhammad in the 70s, and he's still on the case. In fact, he's more committed and more powerful and more insightful than he was in those days from the experience and from his continuous study. So please don't waste your time while you're here. Get you some pencils. We got some pencils? Yeah, get some pencils out, get some scratch paper out, because you may need to take notes. And the question and answer period will allow you a chance to converse with the Imam about things that may be unclear, or these questions you have about whatever it is, the topic, or maybe outside of the topic. So my comments will end with that, and we leave you as we came in peace. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum once again. Of course, we have a question and answer period at the end of the talk, of the Imam's talk, so please hold all your questions till then. If you need to, write them down. And inshallah, we won't, as always, won't put anyone's face on camera because we know that has some issues in itself. So hold your questions till the end, and after this question and answer period, we'll have some refreshments. So may Allah bless us to enjoy the afternoon in the Imam's talk. Ameen. Takbir. Takbir. Takbir.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. With Allah's name, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. I bear open and sound testimony that there is no deity, no object of worship except Allah. Wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. And I bear open and sound testimony without hesitation, reservation, or embarrassment that Muhammad, to whom the Quran was revealed 1400 years ago, is his slave servant, his last and final messenger, his last and final prophet. Dear beloved brothers and sisters, I say, may the peace that only Allah can give be on you. Assalamu alaikum. I know I said brothers and sisters, but I don't think there's any sisters in here, right? It's just a habit, you know. But let me adjust your thinking and your expectations for this conversation, this seminar. I heard it described as a seminar. And so this is not a sermon. This is not a khutbah. This is not a session for preaching. So I don't want you to sit here thinking Jummah. Don't think Jummah, don't think ta'aleem, don't think anything except classroom. You gotta think classroom. I'm in a classroom. This is a class. And where the brother is going to be talking about facts and information and references from literature and publications related to the subject of how the media affects faith. So I'm not here to excite you, to jack you up, to make you walk out vibrating saying the brother was deep and heavy, and no, I'm informing you. And I'm glad that it's being recorded. That will also encourage me to speak in a way that's much more documentary than rhetorical. You know, when a person speaks rhetorically, and another term for that is exhortatively, trying to exhort you to this, and speaking rhetorically is trying to editorialize something, to emotionalize a point and the like. I won't be doing that with God's help. It's not my plan to do that. This is a class, this is a seminar, so my main object is to inform. And if, inshallah, God willing, you can adjust your expectations accordingly, it'll be a greater benefit. So that is to say, any of you that were looking for the emotional pump-up khutbah talk, you will be disappointed. You will be disappointed. But any of you came for information on the topic that is definitive, then you won't be disappointed. We pray Allah that you won't be disappointed. So, let me begin. I want to put a background to this conversation that gives a picture. And this picture is it's called Plato's Republic. Plato's Republic. Now, is this just recording or is it the volume 2? It's not volume? There's no volume on this. Okay. So, you can hear me all right in the back? You okay? Okay. So, Plato's Republic, and in the Republic, is what's known as the allegory of the cave. An allegory is a story that is told which, when interpreted, can be applied to something other than the explicit things that are being mentioned. So we're talking about prisoners in a cave, prisoners in a cave. But it's actually talking about how to decide or how to understand the illusions that we all live under at one level or the other. That is, at one level or the other, we are all prisoners of our own illusions. So here's how the story goes in general. Imagine there were a group of people from a young age, literally as children. They were bound in a den or an underground cave, but it has a tunnel that can lead up and out into the daylight. But they have never been there. They have been chained and bound with their hands and their legs and their heads bound such that they can only face a wall. Now behind them at a small distance is a fire burning behind them, has been burning all their lives. And between the fire and those prisoners sat and bound facing the wall is a road. And people walk along that road, and they talk and they carry items, and things occur between the people who are walking on the road. And as they walk and as the fire burns, there are shadows that are cast on the cave wall. And those shadows that are cast on the cave wall are what those prisoners bound and chained facing the wall, that's all they've ever seen. All they've ever seen is those shadows. So as the people walk behind them on the road between they and the fire, they would hear the voices. And they, not knowing or not being aware of what's behind them, they would hear the voices echoing off of the wall, and it sounded as though the walls, or in fact for them it really was, that the shadows were speaking. So the voice echoing from the quote-unquote real person behind them, bouncing off the wall from the shadow, when they saw the shadow, that was all they knew as reality, because they have never turned around. They've never been turned around. That's the only reality that they know. So that's their condition. And now, he says, imagine that one of them was taken out of that condition and turned around to face the fire. The first thing that's going to happen is that, we're about to be shut down or something? Okay. The first thing that would happen is he would actually be blinded by the fire when he turned around, because his eyes were not used to seeing that much light. But in time, his eyes would adjust. It's been taken care of? Okay. Good. All right. In time, his eyes would adjust, and he'd be able to look at that fire, and imagine now he's taken further. He's taken up that roadway. I told you there was a pathway that you could actually go outside and come out into the daylight. And when he was taken up, and then he finally got outside, now you have the full light of day. You have the sunlight. He would be blinded again. because he was only used to seeing as much light as the fire and as much light as was allowed in the cave, but now there's much more light out there, so he's blinded again. But in time, his eyes would adjust. And when they adjust, he would be able to see at night, he'd be able to see the moon, be able to see the stars, and finally his eyes would become accustomed to the broad light of day. But what he would realize in that situation is that what he had been used to seeing all of his life, the shadows on the cave wall and the voices from the shadows, were not in fact reality, but they were actually only shadows, images of objects that passed between them and the fire, of which they were not aware because of the condition that they were born in, because of the condition that they were raised in. Now there's another part to this allegory goes further than that, but I'll abbreviate it by adding one other part, because this is the only part that we need for this conversation. And that is, imagine now, first when that one who was freed, because he was just like them, when he was freed, and then he comes to realize that the life that I have had and the way that I have perceived reality wasn't reality at all, and that all this was out here all the time, and I didn't know all this was out here all the time, and I was all the time thinking, while I was in the cave bound facing the wall, I was all the time thinking that that was all that there was, that is reality. But now I see that there's a bigger reality than the reality that I had been raised to think was reality. And he would begin to feel sorry for his companions that were left bound, restricted, facing the wall. Now imagine that that one turns around to go back into the cave. So he goes back into the cave. What's going to happen? He's going to be blinded again, because his eyes had become accustomed to seeing with the natural light outside. Now going back into the cave environment, it's dark there and his eyes are not accustomed. So in order to become reaccustomed, it begins with first being blind. But then in time, his eyes would adjust. And when he goes down in the cave and he sees his other former companions that he had been raised with, and he begins to sit with them. And one of the things that they would do, they would have, the way that they would entertain themselves is they would have contests about predicting what or who. Now they're facing the wall, the shadow. What's going to come next? You know, because people carrying objects, those objects gave those shadows different shapes. Okay? Different voices echoed differently from different shadows. So that became their reality, and they entertained themselves by predicting and measuring and defining these shadows. And the one who was best able to do that was the one who was seen as being the great one among them, because they were most capable of defining and measuring and describing these shadows. And so they were seen to be the wise, the experienced, the knowledgeable ones. But now here comes the one that left the cave. And he left the cave and he came back to the cave. And so they invite him to participate in the shadow play, in the shadow competition. But he doesn't do as well anymore in the shadow play, in the shadow competition, because his eyes have been exposed to something else. He knows that that's not reality, and so his experience has become completely different. They who had never left the cave would say, he has been ruined. He's been ruined. He can't even do this no more. He can't even describe a shadow. He can't even define a shadow. He can't even measure a shadow. He can't even predict which shadows are coming. He don't know which voices go with which shadows. But they don't call them shadows. It's reality for them. Now, this person, you know, he's been out. He's seen reality. He's seen the world. He's seen nature. And he knows now, in relationship to where they are, they're living in a false reality. They're living in an illusion. They're not living in reality at all. They're in a confined situation where they don't even know what's really going on in the world. So if he were to become adamant about them being unchained and brought out of that condition to go with him up to where the light and the, quote, reality actually is, he would actually be under the threat of death from others who are still chained, because they would say, you're trying to ruin us just like you've been ruined. This is what happens sometimes. Sometimes we are with people so long and for all our life, and in a situation for so long and for all our life, we think that that's what reality is. Yes, it's just like in the ghetto. We live in the ghetto, we live in the projects, we live in whatever the hood is, we put it on. I put it on that. Whatever that hood is, my brother, he brought me some pictures from Sobrani Park. Anybody know about Sobrani Park? We got some people know about Sobrani Park. You know, I put it on a lot, but I love Sobrani Park, you know. So that was my set. You know, it had, you know, one way in, well, it had two ways out. But mainly you focused on the one way in, the one way up there, Scotty's Corner, you know. I don't know who got it now. But, you know, the Arabs, you know, the Asians, you know, they be switching hands. They be tag teaming on the ghetto, man. It's just, we finished with them. Y'all can take them. But in any case, but see, Sobrani Park was a cave. I got partners, and I know you all do. Each one of you can describe this whole scenario. Partners who you know. You saw them, you went to school with them. You grew up with them. You did what you did with them. We did what we did with each other. You know, some of them never got out. They died on the same corner that we used to get up without even brushing our teeth, without even washing our face. Just get up, throw them same socks on, throw them same pants on, throw that same coat on, and hit that block, and you just there with the fellas all day, looking for what's gonna happen next. What's up? Look, watching who's driving by. See, just looking in the car just to see who in the car. That's all. You know, who got the weed, who got to this, who got to that, all day long. Let's go get high, all day long. That's the cave, y'all. That's the cave. And then you get the music, you get the raps, you get the video, say, that's real, that's real. I'm just putting it real. That's a shadow. That's the illusion. But for somebody that don't see beyond that, that's real. Somebody don't see beyond, that's reality. And you can't blame someone in that condition for saying that's reality. Why? Because they don't know nothing else. They never leave the block. And if they do leave the block, they stay with the same folks that's from the block and go outside the block, stay with them, and then when you come back to the block, so it's really like never leaving the block, because you went with the same people with the same mind, same agenda. So that's a cave also. But there's another world outside of that. And what happens sometimes is that when people leave that situation, sometimes when they come back and try to pull us off of that set, they say, oh man, you done messed up, you done sold out, man, you done punked out, man, you know, I'm a pimp or die. That's the attitude that they get when they come back to the block and say, man, we got to get up off this, man. This ain't about nothing. This ain't going nowhere. This ain't doing nothing for us. Oh, man, it's real. See the similarity? So that picture doesn't only apply to that situation. I just want you to be able to see an example, see a parallel, because it doesn't only apply to that situation. It applies to America. It applies to the West. Indeed, it applies to the world where media reaches. Wherever media reaches, media puts everybody that consumes it, meaning that you sit in front of the television and you depend on the radio and these electronic media, including the internet, World Wide Web, all these different things. To the extent that you participate in it, to that extent, you are still in a cave. And what the media shows us is just like those shadows coming from the cave wall. Chris Rock is a shadow. Bernie Mac is a shadow. Whoever else, it don't matter. Whoever else is a shadow. Those people, the people that show Ice-T. Ice-T. You know, I see him. God bless the brother. I mean, you know, and nobody hating on nobody's success. That's cool. You do your thing. That's fine. But in the context of, you know, I look at the series of programs that I like. Now, I do watch TV now, and I go to plenty of movies. So it's like, see, now you can do that when you got your own mind, right? If you got your own mind, you can go in and still come out and be yourself. But if you go in and you come out and you want to be Snoop Dogg, and because you didn't have no identity, now that's a problem. Okay, so that's a very important difference. But the point is that Ice-T, the series that I like, Law and Order, right? The Special Victims Unit. That's the one he's in. Yeah, Special Victims Unit. And everybody else got a name. Ice-T. I mean, that's not a name for a human being. Come on now. Let's be real now. Now, his birth certificate don't say Ice-T. It don't say. When he was born, Mama said it was Ice-T Jones or whatever. No, he didn't. That's a quote-unquote stage name, right? It's theatrical. Ice Cube, theatrical name. Snoop Dogg, theatrical name. Dr. Dre, theatrical. All these different names. Queen Latifah. You see how? Now look at this. One example. The Rock, right? The Rock, the wrestling guy. Now when he flipped and went to the media, he might have done his first show or first movie under the name The Rock. Maybe that was how it was built because he was making a translation from his wrestling career to that. But now, when you see his name on a billing for a show that he's on, they give you his name. I'm not remembering Doug Johnson or something, some kind of Johnson or whatever. What's his name? Dwayne. Yeah, Dwayne Johnson, right? What's he saying? I'm a human being. I'm not The Rock. He said, I'm not the shadow. Even though his character is not reality, his character is an illusion, but he's not allowing that sphere, that medium to alter and affirm his identity as a shadow where you can never become who you really are. You always only will ever be Ice-T, Snoop Dogg, Ice Cube, etc., etc. You're being deprived of your human reality by subscribing too completely to the shadow that has been projected by media to be you. So the media, my brothers, is a cave. The media is a cave. And the people who spend most of their time consuming media, sitting before the media, bound and addicted to the media, are like those prisoners that have been bound all of their life, looking at the flickering lights and shadows on the wall. That's exactly, it was like TV is. TV is just like sitting there watching flickers on the wall. Check this. I'm gonna have to move over here. I guess camera, you can get that in right here. So check it. This is I won't be able to use my hand, so you can hang right there and it'll be good. Actually, I'm not gonna be saying anything. He's ready on the spot. That's good. That's good. Mama used to tell us to be quick to get back. This is how people watch TV. This is how we watch TV. What do we do? We get the most comfortable. I said I wasn't going to be talking about. This is just I got to set it up, right? We get the most comfortable chair in the house with the most comfortable location. Sometime after we eat, sometime we have some food with us, whatever your drink is, you got that drink with you. And you sit there, and when the TV program come on, this is how we do it. I could do it longer, but that's what we do. For 80 hours and more a week, sitting in that position, looking at that box. And if ain't nothing on one channel, 80 hours. That's just the average. You know, we got this language, couch potato. You know, the couch potato, they don't get off the, you know, and what they do, they give us opportunities to show you how the media is a slave master, and it's very, very much aware, and that's what it is also. It is a slave master. One of the things that it also does is that get this right. Get this right in your head. It's very, very clear. This is a concrete, analytical, critical perception that you have to have about all media, but it's especially true for commercial television. That's why they call it commercial television. Commercial television. What do they call it? In between the shows, they have some commercials. Okay? Why? Because it's commercial television. What it meaning what? That the purpose of the television is the commercial. The purpose of the TV show is the commercial. You understand? It's like, look. Anybody ever ate any channel cat? Channel cat, I get one nod up here, you know. Channel cat, you know, channel cat, that catfish that come out of the channel. It's got a special location, right? All right, well, what do we watch on TV? TV channels. The channel, I mean, the channel for what? It's network. It's a network. What do you mean, network? Network, what do you mean network? It's a net. Internet straight called net. In fact, no, it's not just called net, it's called the World Wide Web. Right? It's the World Wide Web, and then you got Spider-Man. That's the big deal right now, right? Spider-Man. You know, why they like Spider-Man so much? Because the one who's mastering this world, this environment, and controlling the media, he sees himself as Spider-Man. He's controlling the world. He's controlling the media. And he can move from institution to institution, just swinging along, right? And then what they call it, they tell us we're surfing the net. Surfing the net. But if I spell out a word O-F, how you pronounce that? Of. Where the V sound come from? O-F. Of. All right, so if I say surfing the net, and if that F can take a V sound, then I'm also doing what? I'm serving the net. And what do they call the connections in the computers? That's the central connect servers. Are you getting it? And whoever is tied to it and committed to it, they become what? Servants. Oh man, I knew y'all was smart. I knew y'all was smart with that. That's it. So they are hooking us up, and they have the networks, they have channels, and what do they call what they put on the network, what they put on the channel? What do they call them? Programs. Are you getting it? I mean, it's like, and what do you do in order to run the hardware on the computer? You have to have what? Yeah, I have a drive. That's true. Let me say, y'all too smart now. Look, that's too much detail, right? You're right. But you got to have software, right? And the software is called a program. It's called a program. I'm going to run this program. You know, and that's what we would say on the street too. Hey man, we're going to run this program. Right? But see, he got a bigger program. So you have the programs, networks, channels, all right? And then products that they sell. What are the products that they sell when they say it is a name brand? What they used to do, in order to know which animal is yours, what did you have to do? Brand it. Oh, it's real now. Now this is real, what I'm talking about. And look at and what happened, well, it started happening, let's call it the 80s. I don't have exact timing on this right here. Let's call it the 80s. Let's go before that. Like 40s and 50s. Anybody know about sandwich signs? Have you ever heard the term sandwich signs? The sandwich sign was a sign where, you know, when you had these A-frames, the A-frame advertising things, you set them down on the street, and so you can look on one side and see what's talking about, you look on the other side. Well, see, they used to pay guys to put that on and walk down the street. Eat at Joe's, you know what I'm saying? Eat at Joe's. Now, this guy got so cold and we got so programmed that they will charge us $50 for a T-shirt with their name on it. Yeah, somebody want to talk about pimping. Now that's big pimping right there. You know, look, he used to have to pay this guy. Yeah, I want you to do a couple of hours, you know, about my business right here. You got to pay me to do that, man. And so he used to have to do that. Now, you know, Sean John. I ain't hating. If that's the game, right? Isn't that what they say? Don't hate the player, hate the game, right? So he's in the game. So Sean John, he put his initials, he put his signature on some clothes that he designed, or that he just sold his name to, because he don't necessarily have to design. Y'all know that, right? He don't have to design the clothes. He just sell his name. He just license his name to the people who make the clothes, put his name on that, and then sell it to us $300-400. That's game. Right? I'm getting you to pay me to advertise me so I can make more money off you. Now that's game. So I guess maybe we ought to give some big ups to 50 Cent, huh? 50, huh? 50 said just a plain white T-shirt, right? Isn't that who that came from? Well, okay, y'all help me out. I need some ghetto history here. Anybody know why the plain white T-shirt is just the main is the main piece right now? Levi's and a plain white T-shirt. I think it's 50 Cent. All right, ain't nobody gonna argue on that. All right, it's cool. But the point is that when somebody uses you for their commercial purposes, they actually call it branding. The commercial society, they call it branding, because they want you to have a brand preference. Right? And once you have a brand preference, it's just like putting a brand on you. What kind of soap you use? Well, I always use Dove. You know, so shh, you've been branded. That's my brand. That's that, right? So commercial media, it's all about the profit. It's all about the ability to profit off of the people who are there. So what television is, the television show is like the hook and the bait. The television show is like the hook, is like somebody fishing. It's a television show. So when these television shows, a lot of television shows, pilot programs, etc., get developed, and then they try to sell them to a network. The network has to sell them to their advertisers. See, Procter & Gamble or whoever else, you know, Kentucky Fried, whoever, they have to decide, will they, by advertising on this channel, behind or within this program, and they're going to make that decision on the basis as to whether the people who use their product are, or have their brand, are the people who are likely to watch this television program. So if the Colonel of Kentucky Fried, if he said, you know, well, the people I try to get at, they don't watch these kinds of programs, so we're not going to finance that. We're not going to buy advertising on that program, on that channel, et cetera, et cetera. So it's the advertisers that control the programming. It's the advertisers, the commercial interest, that decides which programs actually get on TV, because they're the ones that decide whether that program can be sustained financially by advertising revenue, by advertising dollars. So the programs that we watch on television are programs that have actually been decided by corporate America. Corporate commercial society said this would be a good program to have. Why? Because we could sell more of X product or Y product, because the people that are attracted to this kind of programming are also the same kind of people that use these kinds of products. So what happens is, when we sitting there for these hours watching television, okay, so the program starts. You know, usually they had this catchy beginning of the program where, you know, something dramatic happened. You know, a guy getting busted out of a hotel window and he's falling, bang, you know, fade to black, here comes the commercial. You need one of these Nokia phones. You know what I'm saying? It's like, because they got you emotionally up with that whole introduction, that whole blast in the beginning. So you like this, fade to black, you emotionally open, psychologically open, you need a Nokia phone. So now they're implanting that, right? So now they're programming us to want that, have that, and they always bring the commercial at some high point or at some climax. So they get you, something just about to happen, and it fade to black. You ain't going nowhere because they got you hooked. You're not going to change the channel, depending on how good the program is, right? You're not going to change the channel. But what we usually do, we get up and go to the bathroom. Get up and go to the bathroom. This is how most of the world lives. Go to the bathroom or go to the kitchen. Some of you may have experienced this, may have become conscious of it, but it's the actual fact that the commercials are louder. Commercials are louder than the regular program. Why? Because they know that that's the time that some people will get up, go to the bathroom, go to the refrigerator, go do whatever the little thing before they get back. But remember, the purpose of the television program was the commercial, so the commercial advertiser don't want to miss their opportunity while you're in the bathroom or while you're in the kitchen. So the broadcaster turns it up louder so that you can hear it. And you come back, turn the TV down. And then after you turn it down, then when the program comes back, turn the TV up. Why you gotta turn it up? Because it went up on the commercial, you turned it down. Then it went back to normal on the program, so you had to turn it up. That's one side of it. So in terms of the media, there's a whole cadre, a whole apparatus that work together to achieve the aims of the profit makers. You got to understand that. There's nothing wrong with profit. Wallahi, we say, by God, please make a profit. Make a profit. If there's a way to make a profit in a righteous way, do that. God does not mean for us to be unprofitable. We are supposed to be profitable. But this society is dominated by the material interests, the corporate interests, the profit interests. And this is one of the key reasons why faith and believing in God and religion is not strongly endorsed by the media. Because the kinds of ways that media has to, the kind of processes and whatever, ideology you might even say, that media has to use in order to sell its profit, sell its product, is often against religious values, religious interests. I mean, one of the most glaring examples of that is Las Vegas. Las Vegas, they just call it Sin City anymore. They don't even call it Las Vegas anymore. It's just Sin City. And they have a series of programs, commercials. I'm sure you've seen some of them, where it says, "What you do here stays here." What you talking about? What you do here stays here. This is our main broadcast television, program. Meaning that, look, if you got some dirt you want to do, this is the place to come do. You want to cheat on your wife? Hey, what you do here stays here. You want to be this way when you're out there, and you want to flip it and be like this over here. What you do here stays here, right? Now, does that sound like God or the devil talking right there? That's Satan talking, right? And so the media, there's just so many things. I mean, another thing is that the patch. I'm just talking with these ones just come straight to the top of my head. I mean, look at that. This woman said, this birth control patch. You seen that one? Yeah, attractive. They don't put no ugly folks on no woman commercials, right? So real attractive African American. And she said, so you don't have to be troubled by that little voice in your head. Did I take the pill? Did I not take the pill? So she said, so you won't be troubled by that little voice. But see, what she's talking about is not worrying whether you took the pill or didn't take the pill. It's talking about your conscience. See, your conscience is that little voice that this ain't right. But again, the psychology of commercials is to not have you think about conscience, not have you think about what's right or what's wrong. To each his own. You know what I'm saying? Live and let live. That's the mantra. That's the saying of the commercial society and the secular mind. That's their thinking. And so she said, well, you just put on this patch, you don't have to think about it anymore. You don't have to worry about that little voice. You can go out and screw anybody you want to screw as long as you want to screw them, and you don't have to worry about getting pregnant. That's the moral set of the commercial society. Whatever you want to do, and we can provide a product that allows you to do that. I'll tell you specifically, that is Satan. That aspect of commercial media, commercial society, that is Satan. When you look in the Quran, in the 119th ayah of the 4th surah of the Quran, where it says, and Satan says, I will create in them false desires and cause them to deface the fair nature. Let me tell you how business is, and connected with that verse, where it says that business used to be find a need and fill it. Find a need and fill it. That's how you did business. Okay, I want to go into business. Okay, what need are you trying to fill? Find a need and fill it. Business is not like that anymore, because people are really talking about being off the hook or off the chain, etc. The masses of people are off of any moral foundation. See, the world has been so thoroughly confused as to what is right and what is wrong. And how did they get to that state? Media did that. You take a Oprah Winfrey or a Ted Koppel or any other media, and especially also in the movies. And I'm gonna try to slow down so we can kind of get all this in. Oprah, she'll bring somebody on, and there'll be a PhD from an Ivy League college, and they say X is good. Then she'll get another PhD from another Ivy League college, and they'll say X is bad. So both of them got all the credentials. Both of them got, the smooth tongue, the intelligence, the rationale, the ideology, the support, the data for the position that they take, and then they push it out to us in the public, who we look to these scholars, these notable person to tell us what is right, what is wrong. But then we wind up more confused after the program is over than we were before the program started. So the moral confusion is generated from the media, the types of programs that they try to call it objective journalism, objective media, meaning that we're not favoring one side or the other. That's the rationale, that's the reasoning, that's the excuse. We're not favoring one side, so we bring one from this side and bring one, and let the other people decide on their own. Let the rest of the people decide on their own. And that's without talking about the educational system that has failed to teach us how to think and analyze somebody's argument. If you haven't been taught how to think and analyze somebody's argument, then the one who argues point A, you didn't know how to break that down, so you wasn't ready for that. And then when B comes, you couldn't break that one down, so how are you going to advance? You can't advance. So what I'm saying to you is that the media has served to undermine any moral criteria by doing what they say they do, providing objective media. So in terms of another example, you know what's happening in movies today? What's happening in movies today? They'll bring on a guy who's a bad guy. I mean, by your standard moral definition, this person's bad. Whatever, he could be just an unrepentant criminal, straight up. But then they bring in somebody that's worse than him. So now he becomes the good guy, right? He's the good guy. But this is the same guy with the with all the slash and all the other stuff they did before. But since this guy is worse, then this guy is a good guy. So what that has done, that has undermined your moral perception also. Because now you don't know who's good and who's bad. Which also means you don't know what's right and what's wrong. So your whole value system gets undermined by the commercial media. And so now when you if you come into religious views, the religious values, then those religious values are going to tell you this is right and this is wrong. This is true and this is false. This guy is a bad guy and that guy is a bad guy. So the commercial media who wants to entertain us and exploit us cannot have anybody making things plain, cannot have anybody clarifying or removing the moral confusion. Because if you remove the moral confusion, we don't have any room to operate in that person's mind, in that person's life. We can't get them to make immoral choices. So religious programming and religious programs will not find great support in commercial media, in the commercial media for that reason. So I said business was before find the need and fill it. And I said Satan says in the Quran, Allah reveals that Satan's strategy is that I will create in them false desires. See, once your moral foundation has been broken down, somebody can bring you anything, and as long as they can convince you of that, then that's right. That's the right thing to do. And unfortunately, and I'll just mention this in passing, some of you are here. You're here because you bought a line that sounded right at the time. And when you acted on it, it proved to be, man, that wasn't even right, man. What was I thinking? But it's too late. That's what's going on in the world. But that was the way that Satan has structured the world, because now it's not a matter of finding a need and fill it. What actually happens now, they create needs. They make stuff you don't need it. You don't naturally need a lot of the stuff that they create. But they just tell you, you want one of these. And they'll design the commercial. Listen. How much time is it? I didn't even ask how much time is program. What time? Okay, well, I'm gonna cut at 1:30. You wanna be my timer? You like what? Okay, I'm probably gonna stop considerably before. Okay. So in terms of what we say, fire, need, and fill it. Satan said, "I'm creating them false desires." So he created. Okay, yeah. What I'm hoping to sort of bring you more into an awareness is that it's not just the media, it's not just the screen itself. All right, shukran. It's not just that little box that you're looking at. That's not all. That's the node. That's the hub where several forces meet and express their work through that medium, also movies and the like. And what we already know, it's the broadcast community, right? It's the community that owns the networks. And people talk about freedom of the press. Yes, freedom of the press is for people who own a press. If you don't own a press, you might be oppressed because you don't have a press, right? So you got to have a press in order to have freedom of press. But in terms of the media, more and more multinational conglomerates are merging. Bertelsmann, Sony, all these people buying up around the world larger and larger chunks of AOL, Time Warner, larger and larger chunks of the telephone communications, the computer network stuff, newspapers, radio channels, Clear Channel Communications, another one that owns the lion's share of all communications. And you can go from here to any other part of the country, television programs too, but radio programs sound the same. Same kind of music, same rotation, same voice, because what they have is digitized the media to where somebody sitting in a room 1/3 the size of this room can program the whole nation with program, because this one company owns hundreds of radio stations that control a large share of the population in their regions, whether it be California or Carolina, it doesn't matter. So fewer and fewer people are controlling more and more media. So therefore, they're in a position to project their ideas and attitudes and opinions and feelings and perceptions into the minds of more and more people. And I'm saying that their values are not, by and large, they are not religious values. They're not moral values. They want to put the masses of people in a condition like herds of animals. You got to really understand this, my brothers. This is the program. This is what's up. This is what's happening. This is real. They don't want you to think. And not only do they not want you to think, they don't want you to think morally for sure. But before even dealing with the issue of morally, they don't even want you with the capacity to think. They don't want you to analyze. They say, aren't you hungry for Burger King now? They don't want you to stop and say, let me think about that. They don't want you to think about that. They want you to just do it. Just do it. Huh? Obey your thirst. I'm telling you what's real. What they're saying is, obey your thirst. Obey your thirst. See, they put a little puppet homeboy, in the commercial, show him my motto. You know what I'm saying? They'll put him there to do just that, just to get a laugh. But the guy in the background, the Wizard of Oz, behind the curtain, he ain't playing. Obey your thirst. He chose that line after a whole lot of research, whole lot of test marketing, some PhDs, double PhDs, research majors, think tanks got together and said, now what would be the best hook to get this particular population to be branded with Sprite? Now you can go back and think about all the rap artists that they paraded in front of us getting us to pump Sprite. They were serious. So there is not just the media that you see, there's the research community, there's the educational community, there's the advertising marketer, the people who do research for marketing advertisement. They're the other business interests. There you have the people who are simply investors. All they want to make is a profit. All of these get together to create programs that are designed to exploit the condition of the people there in order to make a profit. Check this. We have what you call, is generally called 9 to 5, 40-hour week. And this is a person's life. Check this. We're born in the house of our parents. We grow up in the house of our parents. 3 years, 5 years, we grow up in their house. We're babies in there. First time we leave the house and we're taken to a school. We go to school. Kindergarten. You're in kindergarten, preschool, whatever. Head Start, doesn't matter. But the first time you leave the house, you go into an educational institution. You go there. And who else is there? The ones who are there is other little babies, other little youngsters that's just getting out of their house for the first time. And so we all in the classroom together. Neither one of us know no more about life than anybody else. Each one, we just there. So we sit, the teachers teach what they teach us. And then we grow up, high school. Go to high school. After high school, some go to college, some get a job, some that's just the end of it. And they go to the underground economy, become homeless, whatever the situation gives. Well, let's track the one that goes to college or gets a job. The one who gets a job, depending on what kind of job he's working, if he's working a job where it depends on his body and not his brain, that party was over with the transition from the industrial to the technological and information age. We used to could get a job at a warehouse. You used to could get a job at a factory. You could get a job at a auto manufacturing plant. But now, they got all this technology, robotics and all that. We don't need you no more. We got something. Don't need no sick leave. Don't need no vacation leave. Don't need no overtime. You don't have no babies. You know, it don't complain. All that we push the button, and not only does it not have all those things, it also does exactly and precisely what we wanted to do whenever we wanted to do it. It's much more dependable. See ya. We don't need you no more. Well, what's going to happen to me? I don't know. I have no responsibility for your life. So there goes the one who didn't advance with the technology. They were only capable of being used bodily. And now that that's over, and then the education that they received was not enough to equip them to continue to advance themselves, they're basically out of it. So they'll either join the others who didn't make it in the first instance, and in the underground economy, or whatever else evolves with their life, homeless or death or whatever. But then the one that goes to college, he goes to college, first job he has, he joins that job, and he still doesn't know much about life anyway. But he works that job. He gets that job. He works that job for 40 years. Gets up in the morning, gets his coffee, newspaper, eggs and toast, what have you, jumps in the car, drives to the job, works there from 9 to 5, comes back home, kisses the wife, hugs the kids, sits down, watches TV. Watch TV, as we said. He finishes all his programs, lays down, goes to sleep, gets up in the morning, starts all over. Now, let's focus on 1 week. All right, the eagle flies on Friday, right? He got his check. Now, he's worked to get the money. He got paid. Now, he's been set up for what to do with that money all week. Every time he did this, he was being told, you need one of these, you need one of those, you need one. That one that you had is old. We got a new model now. Get rid of it. All right? So now he got his check. And this is how we should see it. Now he's back at home. They don't want nobody with a mind. They want you go to work, get the money, bring it here, spend it, then go back to work. And that happens for Hoyt. Now this thing that he bought, here's the other piece of it. Believe me, it's real. This thing that he bought, the manufacturers, the commercial interests that put it together, since their interest is profit and technology has advanced, they have what you call planned obsolescence. Planned obsolescence. Obsolescence means it ain't no good no more. They have planned obsolescence, meaning that we could make this thing work for 20 years, but hell, we'd be out of business after we sold the first one. So what we're going to do, we're going to make it so it work 3 years, maybe 2.5 years, and then we'll give him a 2-year guarantee, 2-year warranty. So as soon as the warranty dies, just click. You need a new one. That one broke. They could have made it, but they can't make profit if it works too good, too long. So what they do is create and manufacture products that have a breakdown setup within it so that we can keep going to work 40 hours a week, getting a paycheck, going to buy it, bring it home, break it down, still at work, doing that 40 years. And then what happens after 40 years? It's been demonstrated that people, after they retire, after 40 years, on the average, 6 months after they die. Now, you can't call that a living. That's what they've been saying. Man, I'm trying to make a living. No, that's not a living. That's death. So the commercial interest, that's the kind of life that they want us to live. So when you look at a fictional representation of something like The Matrix, that's real if you understand it in the context of people's lives. We don't live outside the matrix, we live within the matrix. The matrix is the media. And our tie into it is anything technological that we tie into it in terms of its systems. So there's the doctrinal system, which is the educational system. And the doctrinal system, the educational system, my brothers, also serves those commercial interests. And you got to also understand that many universities, colleges, they are also businesses. Some of the things that they take a year to teach us, it don't take a year to learn that. But we need your tuition. We need you to pay that money. And we need our alumni to give grants and all those kind of things. And we get money from the government by how many people are actually attending our schools and the like. You see the picture? So you got the doctrinal system, which is the educational system. You got the scientific and research community. You got the people who own the communications apparatus, the people who own the quote unquote airwaves and the satellite towers and all those kinds of things. You have those people, and then you have the government's interests in how people think. There's a very important control mechanism. In fact, democracy would not be possible as it stands right now without the media playing its role. And there's a very clear connection, Arnold Schwarzenegger, there's a very clear connection between Ronald Reagan, a very clear connection between the media and the government. Some people come straight out of the government service and they go to work for the media. They go to work for one of these people that's involved in the program. George Shultz, I think it was. George Shultz, who was Secretary of State for Bush. He come out of Stanford. He come out of that research community up there in Stanford. That come do his piece with the first George Bush. When he finished that, he go back to the Stanford community. Same thing happens with people who are George Stephanopoulos. George Stephanopoulos, who is chief of staff for Clinton, I believe it was. Communications director. He's sharp. I got to watch this brother right here. I'm going to learn something. So in terms of that, these roles are interchangeable. You know, and then you already know, the issues around the Iraq war and the oil, the relationship between the oil and the vice president, Dick Cheney and that, So it's like there's interaction between the educational community, between the commercial community, between the technological, the scientific community, and the government, all of which are designed to do what? Get the maximum benefit from the masses of people. Okay? So what does all this have to do with faith? One of the unfortunate, I have to say, unfortunate terms of media right now is. This is my opinion. This is my opinion. That there's the Jerry Falwells, and I've been on a couple of programs with Jerry Falwell where we had words, if you will. So I'm talking from experience. That the right-wing Christian representation that is penetrating the White House and the government is becoming more overt. More public. George W. Bush, the president, and I respect him as the president, but I also respect my citizenship as an American to offer any critique or criticism that I might have. One, the idea that, that you believe that you were chosen by God for this time, and you got this crusade mindset, and you're sitting on top of the most powerful nation in the world with that kind of mentality, then that's not necessarily good for people of all faiths and people of all faiths around the world. So that's also problematic when one's religion is promoted through the media from the seat of government. That's problematic. But to say before I close and have questions is that the direction and the nature of media as it exists right now is not conducive to, I'm gonna put it straight, Islam, I'm gonna put it like that, but not just Islam, but it's to rational faith, period. To rational faith, period. The faith that is actually the core of Christianity, the core of Judaism, the core of Islam. There's a place where Christianity, Islam, and Judaism agree. there's a place in terms of the universality of humanity, the destiny for human beings, a common set of universal moral standards and values that are agreed to by Jews, Christians, and Muslims. But it is the media, which includes script writers and the like, who work to write scripts and produce programs that are particularly antagonistic to those views, so as to break down the strength of people who could otherwise resist the intentions of the commercial society. So as a result, it's just not, religion, rational faith is not positively treated. And when you do get images in the media of religions, of religious people, most often they're projected as fanatics. Fanatic. If you get something about a Jew, he's a fanatic. You get something about a Christian, he's a fanatic. Get something about a Muslim, he's a terrorist. All these things are programs, they say, so that there will be no respect in the general mind who consumes commercial media for religion. So people say, you know, I'm spiritual, but I'm not religious. I don't participate in organized religion. What you participate in? Confused religion? Disorganized religion? You know? So this is one of the key ways that media affects faith. And I thank you for your attention. Assalamu alaikum.